I don't know if y'all saw what's been going on in the House of Representatives, but they they had it out. Ooh, that was better than Real Housewives. I'm not gonna lie, that was pretty good. Okay, in case you didn't see what happened, basically they were having a committee hearing, and I don't really know how they work. They use certain rules of order where they're like point of order, you know, and there's like this moderator that doesn't do his job and stuff. And basically, Representative, I think her name was Jasmine Crockett, said to Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's like, do you know what we're talking about right now? Do you know what we're here for? And then Marjorie Taylor Greene said, I do know what we're here for. Do you know what we're here for? Because those fake eyelashes might be messing up your reading. And immediately, everyone had a reaction, and AOC was the one to be like, hey, can we strike this from the record? You can't do this. Like, this is crazy. You're not supposed to engage in personal attacks on appearance or personality during a hearing. Like, you have to have some form of order, right? And then the person that runs the committee that doesn't do his job was just sort of ignoring her. So then, you know, they let it go. But before that, you know, Marjorie Taylor turns to AOC and she's like, did I hurt your feelings or something? And then AOC said, girl, no. Baby girl, no. In case you aren't familiar, all right, a girl followed by a baby girl is equivalent to showing a Glock. I've never had a woman tell another woman in front of me, girl, baby girl, without something happening next. That's because it's such gentle language. Because it's two women talking to each other. So girl implies like my girl, hey girl, you know what I mean? Girl, and then baby girl. Baby girl is smaller than girl. Baby girl comes from an even gentler place, but is somehow much more violent. Baby girl. I'll put it this way. Girl is hair. Girl is, you know, snatching up someone by their hair. Baby girl is choke. Baby girl is hands around the throat. One hand is baby, the other is girl. Baby girl. Whew. And then later, Representative Jasmine just asked the leader, the one who doesn't do his job. She was like, hey, I just want to check, just so I know the rules. I want to check if I were to say something about somebody's beach, blonde, bad built, botched body. And to be fair, look, I wasn't there. I don't know exactly what she said, because some people are like bad beach blonde, bad built butch body, or beach blonde, bad built botched body. Either way, it's a bop. Either way. It's and that was like kind of off the dome. That was incredible. That was one of those things where I was reading it. I've never read like a news magazine before and been like, beach blonde, bad built butch body. Man, get Metro Boomin on that one. That's crazy. So I don't know exactly what she said, but she was like, if I were to mention somebody's beach blonde, bad built, botched body, would that be engaging in personality attacks? And then a bunch of people on the Republican side made the same noise as the Democratic side before. And then they were like, this is not the time, blah, blah. And then Jasmine was like, no. Because y'all love to dish it out, but you can't take it. And then the article ended. And I was like, that's the problem with journalism today. That's what... Now I gotta go watch C-SPAN to see how it ended. I feel like one of the main things that I miss from being a kid is ooh. Do y'all remember ooh? Do y'all remember like ooh? What an incredible experience. Ooh is beautiful. You know what's so beautiful about it? It's one of those like communal experiences. No one teaches you how to do ooh when you're a kid. You know what I mean? No one sits you down and like, and sometimes you're gonna want to clap, and sometimes you're gonna be like ooh. Like no, your parents never give you a talk like that. You just are a kid, and then maybe you're talking in class, everybody's talking in class, and then the teacher gets frustrated, turns around, points out one kid and goes, Mr. Perkins, and then all the kids go, ooh. It's beautiful. It's almost like a religious experience that you're having outside of church, you know what I mean? Everybody knew to do it at the same time. Like starting a good slow clap. When a real slow clap happens, you're like, wow, we really did it, y'all. Ooh is beautiful. And then as you get older, ooh starts to go away a little bit. You know, because we all have different experiences. When you're a kid, most kids have the same general big fears, right? Getting called out in the middle of class, getting embarrassed, something happening, somebody. But as you get older, everything starts to splinter off. Everything goes in different directions, and so one person's ooh is another person's nothing, right? It's very hard as an adult to have an ooh experience, so I treasure them now when I have them. It's beautiful. Like I was walking down the street one day, and I was passing this bar, and there was a woman yelling at her boyfriend to the point that a crowd had gathered. Like it really felt like a street performance, the way that she was taking him to task. And she was like, I had 1 day off, JR. I had 1 day off and you ruined it. And he's like, I'm sorry. No, sorry's not enough. This has happened so many times. I have 1 day off, JR, and you ruined it. And then out of nowhere, she just swung and slapped him, right? Slapped him from everybody, and everybody was like, oh. And just like that, I was like, wow, I'm back in it. This is incredible. I went to a friend's wedding a while back, and the thing that was amazing to me about this wedding is just how personal it was, right? So it was a smaller wedding, so it wasn't like a huge room or anything, and the groom got his best friend to officiate the wedding, right? And I think that's kind of cool. You know, some people want someone, like if they have it at a church, they want like their pastor to do it, but just someone that makes it special, right? And then the couple, they wrote their own vows, which I also thought was pretty cool because it was very specific stuff to them that was like cute and was funny and stuff like that. And you can tell that the friend officiating was nervous because he was holding the mic, but it was like shaking in his hand, everything. It was all very, very sweet, right? And then it got that time to, you know, say like, do you take, and everything. And then, you know, Buddy looks at the groom and says, do you take Ashley to be your lawfully wedded wife? But Ashley was the groom's ex's name. Doesn't it just feel good to just let it out? Oh. You know, admittedly, I don't know much about dating, but I do know white people. And the weather has a real effect on y'all. It's a nice day out, and every person I made eye contact with has told me. Y'all saw the sunlight today, you were delighted. I was outside, and somebody walked up to me outside and was like, what a day. You know, and maybe it's just the New Yorker, but I was like, nah, I know, it's very good. They were like, nah, this is great. And in my head, I'm like, does it rain every other day or something? Good to know. No, I was happy for everyone. Everybody was having such a good time. You know, it's like the weather today felt like when your friend wants you to see a movie really bad, and then they watch it with you, but they watching you watch the movie to make sure you're enjoying it as much as. But then you're like, but I see it, and they're like, no, but are you paying attention? It's like, you not paying attention, you looking at me. There were a couple people I was concerned about. You know what I mean? Because there were a couple people. I was at the hotel, you know, I was chilling with Logan. We were about to go get something to eat. And there was one guy that was so happy, he got upset. You know what I mean? Like we saw him, you know, past him on the way out of the elevator. He's like, it's a really nice day. I was like, oh, buddy, it sounds like you needed this one. This was... It sounded like one more day of rain, something was gonna happen, all right? I can see that same dude looking out the window. If I see another drop of rain, everybody dies. Then the clouds broke and he was like, yes, yes, yes. Because I was enjoying the weather too. I just didn't feel like I was doing a good enough job. Okay, you know, like when you go to like Six Flags or something and you having fun, but your friend is having the best time ever, to where you're like, I don't think we at the same place. You know, like y'all both walking up to the line for the Batman ride. And I guess it's just perspective. I guess it's just that when I walk up to the line, I see how long the line is. I'm like, oh, we gonna be standing here for 45 minutes. But he's looking up at the ride like, Batman. I'm like, yeah, buddy, yeah. Yeah, Batman, and we'll be there in 45 minutes. I had a realization that I'm getting older now, and as a man, like as a grown man, I'm actually too old now to get kidnapped. Like if I got snatched on the street and then they held me for ransom, as just, you know, as a man, you'd be like, nah, I live with y'all now. Like I can't. You can't send me back. That's too embarrassing. I just got snatched up like I was waiting for my mom after school. Y'all got me. We good. I'm part of the gang now. Can't send me back. Imagine, there's actually a statistic that nobody talks about. Thousands, I'm telling you, thousands of men go missing every year. We don't look, but thousands of men go missing. And I think it was 2021 where men going missing outpaced women going missing, right? And it's like an insane stat. When I was reading it, I didn't believe it. I was like, how is that possible? But I think it's because men know when they get snatched up, they're like, bro, just kill me, because I can't go back now. Imagine you a grown man with a family, right? You a grown man with children, and you got kidnapped, and then you come home and try to be the patriarch of your family, knowing you were a kidnapped man. You know what I mean? Knowing you a diet man, knowing you light. Standing there over your kid, telling him not to talk to strangers, and then your 8-year-old go, well, Dad, between the two of us, I'm not the one that's been snatched up before. I'm not the one that's walking around irresponsibly.
It's Josh Johnson in 3D!
Ooh, I'm in 3D. Good popcorn.
I've lived in New York 10 years now. And in that time, there's been some truly amazing things that have happened. This is an incredible city to live in, you know, for the people who are from here to be from. And in those 10 years, a lot of horrific things have happened. Because this is a terrifying city to live in. Terrifying to be from. Like, I don't know who else has been mystery dripped on. Okay, in case you visited from out of town, I couldn't see everybody who's not from here. Look, mystery drip is when you are going about your day, you know, and you just walking, and then you feel something, and it hits you wrong. It's not. It doesn't. It's too far away from the building to be air-conditioned drip. But it's also not raining. And it's a little heavier than water. Like, it hurt a little. You're like... And then you touch your head or wherever it landed on, and you pray you don't see what it is. You pray there's not a color to it. And then you wipe your face or your forehead, and it's clear, which is almost as bad. Clear is also terrifying. What is this, acid? The rest of the day, you spend the rest of your day thinking like, do I feel it? Do I feel it? Is there skin missing? You see people that day. You still have to go about your day. This is New York. No one cares you had a personal tragedy. So then you go about your day and you see people, you ask them, you try to test the waters because you don't know. You're like, hey, is there anything different about me? Because you don't know if the drip has affected, maybe it's changed the color of one of your eyes. You have no idea. And then they're like, no, and you're like, oh, thank God. No. Terrified. Because I grew up in Louisiana. That's where I was raised, and went to college in Shreveport. And when I was in Shreveport, from the time that I started going to school there all the way until the summer after I graduated that I left, I would hang out in this area off and on, like Dalzell Street. And Dalzell Street had some very cool like house parties. There would be local bands would come, and there was one house that had turned themselves into a venue for like traveling artists and stuff. So it was a very cool place to go. It was also off and on a bit dangerous. Like a lot of cool things, you know. It was like, oh, okay, it's not the best neighborhood. And I knew a guy in passing who lived on Dalzell. And it was one night, I guess he really needed it. Every once in a while, life is a little too much, and you need to treat yourself or just take care of yourself. And his form of self-care was treating himself to a nice home-cooked meal. Not uncommon, right? But he treated himself to a nice home-cooked meal of 4 chili dogs. That's a lot of chili dogs. Like 1 is a meal. 2 is a bigger meal. 3 is concerning. And at 4, you're trying to eat away from something. Like you're running away from your problems with your mouth. At 4 chili dogs. This thing took him all night because he made the chili from scratch. He started making the chili in the afternoon. And then he even boiled the hot dogs himself. I don't know, that part was a little bit easier. Toasted the buns, too. He was trying to make a night of it. And he sat down with his plate of 4 chili dogs. Got to work. enjoying himself, watching a movie, and at 2 chili dogs, he was kind of full, but he had made 2 more. And according to him, cold chili dogs are gross. So I guess I gotta stuff these chili dogs. So he ate the 3rd chili dog. 4th chili dog was a battle. 4th chili dog, he had to persevere. But he did. He finished all 4 of his chili dogs. Pushed himself to the limit. Maybe a little bit beyond his limit, because as soon as he was done, he had to run to the bathroom. I don't know if there was something wrong with the meat, but these chili dogs attacked him immediately. And so he was in the bathroom, fighting for his life. And as he's in the bathroom, truly at his most vulnerable, some people broke into his house. That's a tough one, because, like, what do you do? You're dealing with your own situation right now. You're already in distress, and now you hear the door slam open, you're like, I'm not expecting company. No, who could this be? And then you hear all of these Robin-type sounds. Oh, looks like nobody's home. Now what do? You just sit there listening to them. This dude's in his house, and they don't think anybody's in there, so they talking loud, critiquing him. They're walking around the house. Oh, this is a big TV. Wow, this is a nice model and everything. He got Gone with the Wind on DVD? And they're walking in, this was your night off, your night to yourself. So maybe you didn't clean up. They over here judging him out loud. Oh, this place nasty. Make you not even want to rob it. And so now he's just sitting on the toilet, praying that they leave. But he still got 2 chili dogs in him. And so he's just sitting there, praying. Anytime I prayed on the toilet, it's been for very different reasons than somewhat. Yeah, I know what that's like, to be on the toilet, be like, Lord, look, if you just see me through this one time, I'm gonna turn everything around. I'm gonna come right back to you. I'm gonna do right. So he's sitting on the toilet, and he hears them robbing him. He hears them, like, unmounting the TV from the wall. Just the sounds of construction as he's being robbed. With them commenting on his plates. It's like, why does the man got elephants-inspired places? And this guy's a loser. The whole time, you can't say anything. He's sitting there, as quiet as possible. And as these guys are moving out, they take the TV first. And TV, I guess, is heavy because they're over here making the moving grunt noises and everything. Like, pick up your side, pick up your side. And as they're conversing, go, pick up your side. He couldn't help it. He's still full of chili dogs. They stop and they're like, hey, wait, hey. Stop, you hear that? And now he's very scared. Now he's like, oh God. He's trying to be even quieter. As quiet as he can. And he lets out another fart. He couldn't help it. It just happened. So then they were like, outside the door, he hears them, hey! Is somebody in here? Which is a crazy question to ask when you are robbing a house. You are mid-robbery. Imagine the audacity it takes to run up in somebody's house, but hey, I hope nobody home. We did a good job of casing this place. I hope you didn't break schedule. I hope there's not another burglar in here. What has this country come to when you can't burglarize in peace? And so now he doesn't know what to do. He's been found out. And he clearly can't keep quiet. And so then he yells out. It's like, yeah, somebody in here. It's impossible to sound tough on the toilet. That's never gonna happen. This man tried to hit all the bass in his voice, try to be tough on the toilet. And then he said that he thinks, he doesn't know, but he thought he heard a gun cock. And so now he's terrified. Because the next thing they scream is, where you at? And I don't know why he said it. He doesn't know why he said it. But he yelled out right at the bathroom door, come find me! Sir, what is your plan? What exactly is your plan? That they will bust open the door and you'll turn around? Like, what? And so, because he had screamed from the bathroom like 2-3 times now, they basically put it together. And then dude who was doing the yelling for the group was like, you in the bathroom? Totally different dude. Dude, I guess next to him, ugh! He boo-booing in there. That's what we heard. Oh, you nasty. Once again, a wild thing for a burglar to say to you in your own home that they broke into. Oh, you're doing bad stuff in there. Oh, you need to get your life right. Gone with the Wind on DVD. They didn't know his name. And then, yeah, basically, they just proceeded to rob his house. There was nothing else he could do. He still had a chili dog in him. And so now all he just hears is the sounds of things leaving his home. As he screams, hey, stop stealing out there. Hey, cut it out. That's gotta be a tough position to be in, you know? Because then, you know, he finally finished up and they were gone. His house was in shambles and everything. And now what do you do? Now you have to call the police and tell them exactly how everything went down. You can't even give a good description. You just be like, he sounded 6'2", so look for somebody 6'2", strong enough to carry a TV with a partner. Yeah. Every once in a while something happens that is in and of itself like pure comedy. It's like a gift. A thing that happens that's like, it blows your mind almost. It's pure comedy. It makes you take a break from everything else that's going on, and it brightens your day because, once again, it is pure comedy through and through. This Afroman trial has been pure comedy. Like, I haven't seen anything like this before. Maybe we won't see it after. This is crazy. All right. Okay. All right. Look. In case you don't know who Afroman is, you have to come back with me to the year 2000. In 2000, this artist named Afroman, apparently, I don't know everything that went into him almost being at the brink of quitting, but apparently he was about to quit making music. This dude went to a party and had a bunch of his music with him. It was physical back then. You could hand somebody music. It wasn't all in the air. You could hand somebody, I don't know. I hate telling people that are younger than me what life used to be like because they look at me like I am from 1645. Having to explain a CD to a person should be a hate crime against... It's ageist to have to explain what a CD is to someone who still has really good joints. It's like... It's infuriating. It's like their skin is tight and they don't know old technology. Infuriating. And so, yeah, he shows up at this party. He's got a bunch of his music with him, and he's straight up just giving it away. He's just handing it out. Just, here, you can have it. You know? And people took it, and one of the songs on the CD that he was passing out, maybe cassettes. Sometimes I had to explain a cassette tape one time, and I realized that I didn't even know how a cassette tape worked. They were like, why they call it a cassette? I was like, because it's in a case. Because it's a case and it's little, like it's a cassette because it's in a case, but it's like a little case. And it's dainty. It's like a dainty little case, cassette, you know, for respect because she's a lady, you know. So cassette, and then they put the tape in the cassette, and then there's teeth in the tape. No, it's teeth in the wheels, and then the thing you put the cassette player also has the teeth. But they're different. They're teeth. It's like a kiss. They kiss. They kiss and they spin in a circle, and then they spin in a circle. There's a little black piece of like cushion, I think, and then that runs across the tape. And I don't know where the sound comes from. I don't know why cassettes make noise. It sucks to be old and dumb. Like that. I think that's why we end up hating young people, because it's not just that you have to explain a thing from before. You realize you don't know how the thing from before worked. I don't even know how CDs work. That blew my mind before, during, and after, where I was like, why is this plastic disc making noise? There's no needle. In fact, if you scratch it, it stops working. But it has teeth, and so then the teeth kiss, and then you close it, and when you close it, it's supposed to make a slam sound, like a close hard. And then you hit play, and it plays. I don't know. You put it in the stereo. You know what a stereo is, don't you dare. They still have stereos. A stereo is a Bluetooth speaker before Bluetooth. Back before blue or teeth, there were stereos. You're gonna give me a nosebleed. Stop asking me questions. Stop asking me questions. With your good ankles. Afroman was at a party. And he was giving away his music. I don't know if it was in CD form or if it was in cassette form. All I know is he was giving the music away. And one of the songs in the music he was giving away was what would become a classic, what would become a Grammy-nominated song. In the same amount of time that he was about to quit. Afroman is known for the song Because I Got High. Because I Got High is the anthem of anyone who's ever been late. No, Because I Got High, I don't know, it got passed around in a way that was so organic. It was back in a time where we just didn't have access to everybody or even the idea of having access to thousands of people at one time. It got passed around in a way that was like, I enjoy this, I hope you'll enjoy this, I hope you like it. And not only did they like it, they shared it with someone else. It was almost like predating social media, but exactly how social media would end up working. And it blew up. It really blew. People were singing it. People were living it. It became real life excuses. It just spread. Things that had nothing. I was gonna pay my child support. I swear I was. But I don't know. I got high. Forgot I had any kids. You can't remember everything when you're high. And so, Afroman became this like legend for this hit, Because I Got High. Fast forward to 2022, his house was raided. Now, his house was raided off of claims made by an informant. I didn't even know that this is kind of how the justice system works at all. I didn't know that like an informant can just say a bunch of stuff about you and the police will be like, really? That feels like a flawed system that, because here's the thing, it's not as if like Afroman is this like known criminal. So then for an informant to just inform on a person who's minding their business and then the police follow up on that and get a warrant from a judge to, that seemed wild. That could just happen to any one of us. Someone that you don't know. You could be doing this. Like, you could do this. We all hate people. It's wild this doesn't happen more often. We know who we hate. Just make up a bunch of lies and be like, I just want to, as a concerned citizen. That's insane. And so basically this informant says that Afroman has a ridiculous amount of keys of drugs in his possession, right? And so police follow up, they get a judge to sign a warrant and everything. And look, if someone's accusing you of having a lot of drugs in your possession and you're known for one song above all others, not looking good. And then they even said that he was like a trafficker and that he had some people in his torture sex dungeon. Yeah. And so the police, they run up in there and they tear open his gate to his property. They knock down his door. They come in like AR-15s, like a full raid, because they're expecting to find like everything that was supposed to be at Diddy's house. And so they rip open the gate to Afroman's property, and then they bust down the door. Door goes flying, right? They rush in. They've got their guns and everything, and Afroman's not home. He sees what they're doing because he has these surveillance cameras that are all over his property and in his house, right? So he sees the police rush in, and there was one officer in particular. This officer rushes in. He's got his service weapon in hand. He's looking around in case anything druggy or sexual is happening. And then he walks through the kitchen. And you can see it on security camera. He notices a lemon pound cake And he doesn't just notice, he stares at it. Really looks at the lemon pound cake through and through. And it blew my mind because you're in a raid right now where you think keys of narcotics and a sex dungeon is on the property. Imagine it for Bad Boys 5. They had Will Smith and Martin Lawrence run up into a mansion that is, you know, full of drugs and sex dungeons, and then you see Martin Lawrence stop. Like, okay, look, I know there's drugs. I know there's trafficking happening, but look at you, Lemon Drop. How you doing? No. Because, look, I don't know what was going on in the officer's mind. I don't know what was playing in his head or anything. But he was looking at the pound cake like... What's a delicious thing like you doing in a place like this? You know what I mean? I could take you somewhere special. I could take you somewhere... I could save you. You don't have to live like this, all right? Because he looked at it, yeah, a little too long. Looked at the pound cake longingly and then moved on with the raid. And they tore up Afroman's house. That's what happens in a raid. You're looking for stuff and they don't have to be gentle, so they're not. They can tear it up, and so they do. And so they tear up his house and going through his suits and everything. They even find his security cameras, and they cut the connection to him. Right? They find his cash that he has in the house. They take all of his cash that they find. And yeah, they end up leaving. But Afroman was like watching the thing. He's just watching the whole time. Doesn't know what's going on. Doesn't know there's even an investigation into him. Because once again, he's not being charged with anything. He hasn't been arrested or something. They just ran up in his house. Apparently no knock warrant. That's crazy. And he's watching it. Maybe on his phone, maybe his laptop, I don't know. But he's just sort of watching them go through his house like, hey! Hey! He probably felt as powerless as somebody sitting on the toilet while their house was being robbed. They're like, hey, cut that out! What you doing? And the police, by the way, they don't find anything. They don't find anything. They don't even find any narcotics. Which for an artist who's known for a song, Because I Got High, is almost a little disappointing. It's like, all right, I don't know if you're really living the lifestyle then. They don't even find a sex dungeon with trafficked people in it because Afroman's house doesn't have a basement. There was no... Yeah. Didn't look at a blueprint or anything. Just ran up in there. Where's the dungeon? Oh, Afroman's furious, as you would be. These people broke into your house, busted down your door, ripped open your gate. You were minding your business. I think he was in Chicago for a show. And he wasn't there, but his family was. You know, his wife and kids there getting like AR-15s pointed at him and everything. That's gotta be traumatizing. It's gotta be something you never forget. And then Afroman asks, you know, because he at one point he was FaceTiming with his wife, the police that were there, because they want him to open his safe so they wouldn't have to rip it up out of the floor and everything. And so he gives them the combination of the safe. There was nothing in the safe, like he didn't have anything in there, and he asks the officer, he's like, okay, so am I under arrest? Like, is there a warrant for my arrest? Some of the officer's like, no, not at this time. And he's like, am I being charged with anything? He's like, no. He's like, all right, well, y'all gonna help me fix my door? The door is on the floor. And apparently, according to Afroman, in several interviews, he said over and over again that the officer, Randy Walter, looked at him and smiled and said, we're not required to do any of that. And Afroman said he didn't know what he was going to do at the time, but he knew he had to do something. He was just infuriated. It's one thing to do it. It's another thing to not apologize. It's an entirely different thing to seem like you enjoy it. And he had no idea what to do. I think a lot of us have been in that position before, where it's like people with power exercising it or abusing it and getting some glee out of the fact that you can't do anything about it. And so he was like, what can I do? He said, felt like a powerless black man in America. What can I do? I guess I could make songs about all of them. Afroman came out with some songs specifically asking, are you gonna help me repair my door? Oh, go check it out, it's a banger. Afroman also came out with a song called Lemon Pound Cake. Because like me, he noticed the distasteful looks this officer was giving the cake. Made a whole song about it. And then, in I guess not so much of a plot twist for, once again, the American justice system and how government works, the police were very upset with these songs. They're very, very upset. You know, Afroman was out here calling people Gomer Pyle. He was saying the judge looked like Droopy, you know. He was over here disrespecting them, their families. He did his research. Anything he knew about them, he was putting out in the songs. Everybody was very mad, and what can we do? We already tore up his house. Dang, what can we do? And then Afroman calls them all thieves because when they were doing the raid, they took all of his cash, right? This cash in his home. Because they're saying that this cash, if they find narcotics, if they find anything, like this is common in raids, where they're like, there's no way to say whether this cash is connected with the drugs that we may find, right? So they take the cash, they put it in evidence, they take it to the station, right? And when he shows up, after he's not been charged with anything, he's able to collect the evidence back that they took. And when he went to pick up his cash, he actually brought a news team with him. He brought like the local Fox News team just to make sure everything went well. Because he's like, these people clearly have no love for me. I'm not happy with them. And he said, I brought the local news with me not to make some sensational story. I was trying to not get Epsteined or something. I don't know these people, and I've already seen what they're capable of doing, so he goes in there, gets his money back, and some of his money is missing. They took almost $5,000 in cash from his place, and when he got it back, he was $400 short, which is kind of a pathetic amount to steal. Like that, like, just... It would make more sense if you took his money and then he showed up and you were like, what money? Like that would track so much more than $400. This is weird. And so he makes these songs, he's calling the police thieves. You know, he's saying they came in my house and they stole from me. And then he makes songs about all of them. Says one of them looks like Gomer Pyle. Said the judge has signed the warrant, looked like Droopy. Just letting them all have it. To the point where these officers got really upset. They were so angry. They were very mad. They were like, what can we do? We already tore up his house. And so these officers banded together, and they, in what feels like an odd attempt at justice, all got together and sued Afroman for defamation with his songs. And the problem with a defamation suit is you do have to explain how the thing hurt you. You do have to walk us through. Defamation is also hard to prove when you're a public official. You have to prove like intentional malice of something that is not true. Like opinion and parody won't necessarily get you defamation. And so this was a tough case because it's going to be hard for them to prove, but the fact that it's even going to trial feels uncomfortable because all he was doing was expressing himself through the First Amendment. And so the trial starts, and immediately it feels like a bit of a mistake. Because the officers suing him have to take the stand. And Officer Poundcake, who he had come to be called through the song, because these songs, okay, this is very important. These songs went viral at the time, but then they went viral again before the trial. And once again, imagine you're Afroman. They've already run up in your house. They've done $24,000 worth of damage to your property. All right? And Afroman's out here trying to live a quiet life. He's not necessarily touring all the time or anything. He's not dropping like album after album after album all the time, you know? He's living seemingly just minding his business and everything. Not going to be able to come up with $24,000 out of nowhere. I don't care what hit song you had. Maybe Mariah Carey with the Christmas. No. She eating good off of that one. That's the exception. But now you're being sued by the police for defamation, which has got to be terrifying because you were already up against the police initially. Afroman tried to sue the police at least for his damages, just to make himself even. But that suit was thrown out because it was a lawful raid. And so now you're being sued by these cops, and it feels like they have all the power because you're going into court, which usually only backs them up. So it's you against them. What do you do? What do you do? You know? I guess if you're Afroman, you release more songs leading up to the trial, which is a move. You could do that, yes. You could add to their case every day leading up to the trial. He drops song after song after song. And then he's sitting there trying to defend himself in court. And they had Officer Poundcake on the stand. And the lawyers ask him, it's like, you've been called Officer Poundcake. And he's sitting there, because look, all the cops that took the stand are trying to act super hurt. They're trying to act devastated, right? So all of them are doing their best acting. And so he's sitting there and he's like, yes, I've been called it multiple times. And they've even had pound cakes delivered to the station. Hundreds of cakes. Which, yeah, when the song went viral, and I'm sure when it went viral all over again, people were sending pound cakes to the police station. The people were calling him Officer Poundcake. Imagine you're him. Imagine. Maybe you even have to go to another precinct to help out. Maybe there's some security detail you have to help on. Maybe it's another raid that you have to be involved in. And you show up because it wasn't just Afroman. The police were also calling him Officer Poundcake. A lot. Imagine you show up to a raid, you strapped, you geared up and everything, and they're like, well, looky here. All right, Officer Poundcake, we are going to be doing a raid on a meth lab. Now, I know they're cooking in there, but it's not the type that you like. Be careful in there, Poundcake. We got your back. And not only did they ask about being called Poundcake and about getting pound cakes, I don't know. I'm just, for a second, I got distracted because I was just thinking about, like, what if he's like, I can't believe the cruelty shown to me, sending me all these pound cakes. You know, it was defamatory, it was disgusting, and it was delicious. It was everyone. That's terrible that you sending me all these cakes knowing I can't resist. Just sitting there, eating a pound cake. Look at what Afroman did to me. Oh, it's the stickiest of the icky. It was so gooey. And so then they had a different officer on the stand. Everybody got a turn. But before they switched up, people giving their testimony, because it's such an important part of the trial and one of the root causes for defamation, they did have to play the entire song, Lemon Pound Cake, while he sat there and listened. This is the problem. Not since Drake have we seen a worse defamation suit where somebody just played themselves. This is terrible. He's sitting there listening to the whole song. They even played it a little slow so you can hear the lyrics. Getting his feelings hurt all over. And then he got off the stand, and then they went to this Officer Lisa. Now, Afroman had given everybody a nickname, right? Called one officer Pound Cake, and Lisa, he called Lick 'em Low Lisa. I know. Went in on Lisa pretty hard. So the thing about listening to the songs is that Afroman's known to go long in a song. Probably because he gets high. But the song Lick 'em Low Lisa is 13 minutes. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't finish it. I was like, I only saw a portion, but the portion I saw, I was like, all right, you got her, I guess. I don't know. I'm not. 13 minutes is a lot. And, you know, she was on the stand, and they played her song as well. 13 minutes of an entire song. And she had at least what I consider to be some crocodile tears, because once again, you have to, if you're trying to show defamation, you're trying to get a jury to believe you, got to seem upset. But the song made her cry initially, but the song is 13 minutes. 13 minutes is a very long time to pretend to cry. Even kids only got like 8 in them. You got me? And so every time they hit the chorus, Lisa tried to cry harder. He'd say, lick 'em low, Lisa. Like, at a certain point, I need to see tears. I'm not gonna lie. Then she got off the stand. And then, an officer took the stand that Afroman said looked like Quasimodo. And when asked by the lawyer, like, you know, you said that you look like Quasimodo and that you're saying that that caused you harm and did damage, it, you know, disrupted your life and your reputation. And this man went, yeah. It's like that sound. I know that's not what Quasimodo sounded like in the movie, but it does sound like how he should have sounded, though. That's a crazy spot on, yeah. And he was like, but you understand that the song is a parody. Obviously, Quasimodo's a fictional character. Yeah. And the lawyer's like, well, you know, it's clearly a parody because Quasimodo's a fictional character. You know Quasimodo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame. He's like, I don't know, I never watched it. And he's like, oh, okay, but it hurt your feelings? Experience extreme emotional distress. You're saying you've been defamed, but if you don't know the source material, how do you know it's not a good thing? Like, how do you... It's like when you're really... It's like when you're not smart and someone says a big word around you, so you take it as an insult. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What do you mean by fantastical? All right, you coming at me? Because we can square up if you feel like it. And then, Randy Walter took the stand. Randy Walter, who looked at Afroman whenever they were FaceTiming and smiled at him and said, we're not required to do any of that. Takes the stand. And Afroman, a couple days before the trial started, Afroman released a song, as he does. And this song was called Randy Walter is an SOB. And in this song, Afroman says that he had slept with Randy Walter's wife. Now, if you're unfamiliar with hip-hop, this does happen where people claim to have slept with the wives of their enemies. But Randy took the stand, and Afroman's lawyer asked him, you know, so he's saying that he is, you know, slept with your wife, he has called you an SOB. But you understand that this is a song that could be just an opinion, you know. He doesn't know you personally or anything. It could just be an opinion that you're an SOB. And then Randy's like, yes, you know, it could. And then Afroman's lawyer says, you know, Yeah, because there's no way to even verifiably prove that you're an SOB. And Randy, for some reason, says, no, sir, she's been dead for years. Randy! Randy, what's wrong with you, Randy? Randy, what are you thinking? Randy! And then after his lawyer immediately laughs, immediately, like right in his face. He's like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for your loss. I really am. Oh. But my client said that he slept with your wife in jest. Like he was making a parody of the situation. You know? And he's like, and it caused me extreme emotional distress. He's like, I understand that, but you know, he's doing a parody. This is what he does. He makes funny songs and everything. And there's also no validity to it. Like there's no proof that he slept with your wife. Then Randy, for some reason, says, I don't know. Randy! What do you mean you don't? Randy! This is also an insane thing to say because you're suing for defamation. But if you don't know if the thing isn't true, how can it be defamatory? I know the other cops also suing for defamation were sitting there like, Randy! Even if you think that's true, button up right now. What's wrong with you? And so the lawyer was like, wait, I'm sorry? You don't know if he slept with your wife? And Randy goes, I mean, I hope not. I mean, you know, we've been together 28 years. All right? Been with that woman since middle school. I would hope she wouldn't do anything like that. But once somebody puts it out like that, it's out. And once again, Afroman's lawyer's like, wait, what's happening here? Like, oh, wait, are you telling me you can't verify whether or not, as a fact, it happened or not? And then Randy goes, oh, you want to go there? This is where you're going, Randy! Randy, we're following your lead. Randy, what are you doing? I'm sure Randy's lawyer was even like, Randy, what are you doing? Randy got off the stand. And there was another officer that took the stand, suing for defamation, remember? And he was the one that Afroman said looked like Gomer Pyle. And that he had a receding hairline, hence the Gomer Pyle. And the lawyer asked what about these statements was defamatory. Which I know he has to ask for his job, but that's crazy. That is crazy. To be like, this person is suing for defamation, and then you get him on the stand, and then you're like, my client never lied, though. Look at him. Look at him, though. Look at him. And then he says on the stand, was it defamation when he said that you look like Gomer Pyle? And he's like, no. Are you suing for defamation because he said you have a receding hairline? And he said, no. Which, receding is gracious. I'm just saying, that man's hairline is a secret. Ooh, no, you'll see. When you look at him, you'll see. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. That man, when I saw him, I was like, hairline? No hairline. That man can't grow. You know, because the Afroman says like, you 20 with a receding hairline. And I was like, oh, I hope he's not 20. You'll know what I mean when you see him, but woof. Because he got one of those ones that it can only grow like right in the, like back only. Like it's only growing in the past. Like it's... Like my man can only grow a cape. Like he receding was Christian of him. Receding is crazy. And then they had the cop take the stand. They had the cop take the stand who counted the money. This almost $5,000 with 400 missing. And they asked him about it because he's the one that wrote it on the bag and everything. It was a different officer where it was supposed to be in his possession the entire time, but they show on body cam footage of the actual officers that he left it. So, you know, Afroman's being sued for calling them thieves. And he called them thieves collectively, but then they're all suing individually. Once again, for $3.9 million, they're all suing individually for being called thieves and being defamed. And they knew that the strongest case was the theft, because theft would be an actual like crime. It could ruin your reputation as an officer and everything. And all the other stuff is just too funny, I guess, to throw in there. But they put him on the stand, and this man, basically, the way I interpret it, gets up there and in not so many words, but a very long testimony, admits to everyone. I can't count, y'all. Like that, That's rough. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's a 5, sometimes it's a 2 with a 0 behind it. Like, what are we doing? This man couldn't count to almost 5,000 with some increments of like 100, you know? And then they had another officer take the stand that explained what happened. And they're like, actually, when you watch the security cam footage, you hear him count out loud. I'm not trying to shame anybody. We all spell and count at our own pace. But if you grown and counting out loud and not a cashier, you might be struggling. This man was counting out loud for everyone. And look, maybe that's protocol. Maybe that's what he's supposed to do so that there are witnesses to how much money he's counting. Maybe, right? But he said if you watch the footage, you can hear him kind of start to count wrong. And nobody stops him. So there's a chance that the police didn't steal any money. They just horrifically miscounted it. And I honestly can't decide what's worse, a corrupt cop or a dumb cop, because either way, everyone in this case, Randy, Lisa, Pound Cake, the one that can't count, everybody has or had a gun. That's crazy. Can you count the bullets? Devastating. And so the defense only calls one witness. And it was one of the officer's ex-wives. Because one of the claims that he made towards defamation and towards, pain and suffering is that these songs, this music, this supposed art that Afroman was doing destroyed his marriage. You broke us up. You made me a laughing stock. She can't be with a laughing stock. You ruined my marriage. My wife left me. And so then his ex-wife takes a stand. And the lawyer asked, did the music that was released by my client, did you take any of it seriously at all? And she was like, no. It's like, did you feel like any of it was causing a rift between you two? Did my client's music break up your marriage? And she was like, no. And that's gotta be rough, to sit there and watch your ex-wife on the stand be like, nah, it was him. It was all him. It was actually him through and through. There was nothing else that came in between. It was just, I was married to him, which is what makes you not want to be married to him. And then Afroman took the stand. And Afroman, by the way, had been showing up every day to court. He'd been showing up in an American flag suit that looks like a Kid Rock fever dream. This suit wasn't just the American flag. Like, it wasn't one flag. It was 12,000 flags. Probably had flags in flags. Had a flag tie on. He even had sunglasses on that had like a foil of them, of the American flag. Showed up, afro all picked out and everything, looking pristine, spherical. Takes the stand. And, the lawyers for the cops try to come at him hard. Try to be like, so what gives you the right to defame my clients? And he was like, the First Amendment gives me the right to do everything that I did. I took my bad time. I made a good time out of it. I made funny songs. I didn't try to retaliate or anything. They're the ones that knocked down my door, caused damage to my house. They're the ones that turned my life upside down. I tried to make something good out of it. If they had never raided my house and they were never there, they wouldn't have been on my cameras. I wouldn't know their names. There wouldn't be these songs. It's really their fault when you think about it. And he just let him have it. Every time that they tried to put it on him, he reminded them, oh, what was I under arrest for again? I don't even have a basement. And then both sides had their closing arguments. And that's when it would be hard, in my mind, to be a lawyer. Like, imagine you're defending Afroman in this case, and you've had a ton of fun. There's even been some surprises. You're like, wait. Did you sleep with his wife? Because, that was a very weird part of the trial. Because that testimony went so off the rails that he was like, so, are you upset because he's making something private a public matter? And then Randy goes, yeah, if my wife was sleeping with him, it would be a private matter. I'm starting to think this happened, Randy. Randy, if this did not happen, they should never let Randy take the stand ever again. You won't know if a crime was committed or not. Like, but yeah, you're the lawyer for Afroman. Wrapping up the trial, it'd be so hard. It'd be incredibly difficult to not just make your closing argument. Y'all, I mean, look. And so next day, Afroman shows up to court, been in the suit. Can't stress this suit enough. I haven't seen one like it before. I'll never see one like it again. He must have been hot in that suit. There's no way. Gotta be burning up in that suit. And to top it all off, he had a mink coat on. A white mink coat. And yeah, the jury decided pretty quickly that there was no defamation. It was just fantastic. You know, Afroman doesn't have to pay that money. Everybody can go about their way. And we got some great songs. Because I think one of the reasons so many people were rooting for him, and people who you wouldn't even think, this was almost like across the board. Even the people who usually defend cops no matter what they do were really in favor of Afroman winning. Because, especially now, it feels like the First and Second Amendment are just sort of a suggestion for certain people. And anyone else gets their rights violated in real time because it's the idea of lawfulness. What do you really do if someone with authority is in your face violating your rights? Well, there's nothing you can do until it goes to court. And some people don't even get that court date. Some people just have an abuse of power happen right in front of them. And then they have to do the best they can to go on with their lives. We watch it all the time, especially now. You know, I won't say it's at an all-time high because there are some people where this has been their reality for their entire lives, and some people are just catching up because it does affect all of us. You know, you even saw in videos from a couple months ago where protesters were talking to ICE officers, and ICE officer even said out loud on camera, "This is crazy." It floored me. If you raise your voice, I erase your voice. Threatened to kill this person for talking loud. You raise your voice, I erase your voice. Said it twice on camera. That's crazy. That's even crazier than staring at a pound cake too long on security cam. Yeah. Because a lot of us have felt the way Afroman felt, where what do you do? What do you do? These people have come into your home, or they've just violated you in some way, and they have the law on their side. That's terrifying. What do you do? I think the best way to sum it up is what Afroman said, you know? When life gives you lemons, make lemon pound cake. You all been phenomenal. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all.
Please make it loud for Josh Johnson!
One thing that is very fun about being in Pittsburgh is your your sort of singleness in fandom. The way that you love the Steelers, right? The way that you, yeah. And I saw this story about a woman whose husband sadly passed, and to commemorate him, she kept his Steelers tattoo. I'm glad we're on the same page. Because initially when I saw it, I was like, what? Yeah, no, kept the Steelers tattoo and it's like in a little. And then in the article, she was like, yes, we kept the tattoo. No, we don't think it's weird. And I was like, I figured you didn't think it was weird. Seems like it was your idea. That would be wild if you were sitting there holding the plaque like, I can't believe they let us do this. This is... little odd, right? And look, I don't know. Wow. Like when I saw it, I was like, because also, look, I'm not gonna linger on it too long, but it was a big tattoo, so I don't even know what that is. That back? Is that arm? Is that, you know what I mean? And maybe this is something that the husband would have loved. Maybe he's like, yeah, keep it, put it in the living room, right? I don't know. I also don't know how hauntings work, but I imagine I do imagine having some of my skin means I'm gonna stop by. If anybody ever kept some of my neck, I think I'd be like, we have to have a discussion. Poltergeist or not, I'm coming over, we're talking about it. You know, you already have to be careful in people's houses because you never know who got the urn on the mantle or something like that. I don't know why they don't sell urns with like a lock on it. Every urn I've ever come across just been ready to be opened like a cup of sugar. We gotta start making urns harder to spill. You know what I mean? I've been in people's houses where they got, whether it's like a family member or the pet, they got the urn on like a mantle or a bookshelf, and I'm like, that's a little high. If it falls, they will be everywhere. And it does sort of, I don't know. It does taint the memory a little bit if this urn fall and now you gotta Dyson him up. And then put him back in a new urn with whatever was on the carpet. Just something to think about, baby. Literally, just even McDonald's cups are harder to spill. Just something with a twist lock, something. Because let's be honest, unless you spread the ashes, you never need the ashes. You know? It's not like you hiding something in the ashes and then you're gonna open up the urn, pull out the Glock. Like that'd be a wild home invasion. That'd be imagine you're, let's say somebody, goodness forbid, but let's say somebody broke in your house or something like that, and then they've got you and the family held hostage, and maybe you did something to them. Maybe you're a healthcare CEO, right? And so then they got you tied up with your family and everything, and it's like, look, I'm sorry, all right? And they're like, sorry is not enough, you about to go. It's like, okay. All right, I get that, but okay, but a long time ago, my wife passed, and I always said that, like, whenever I go, I'd like to go with her, and she's right there. Intruder gonna be like, over there? Yeah, she's on the fourth shelf. Fourth shelf next to Great Expectations. If I could just like hold her, I'll just, the small kindness. Let me hold her while you bow. The intruder's like, okay, go ahead. Go get her. Thanks, honey. No, it's wild. Because now that mantle it's like in a frame. And I guess they're gonna put it on the wall. That seemed just as precarious as any urn. Imagine you having a house party. And somebody bumped the frame, it fall. Now you getting yelled at, you knocked over daddy. Everybody does things differently, and some people very differently. But once again, I don't know. I don't know if he would have loved this sort of thing, But it'd be crazy to think he might be looking down like, ugh. But in case he loves this sort of thing, and in case he can hear us on 3, I'd love all of you to join me in a Go Steelers. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Hopefully that will stop me from being haunted. In my life, I've had a lot of roommates, and it's funny because, like, I don't know, I've talked about this before, but like, roommates is like extra family because you're poor. You don't exactly bunk up with a stranger because things are going well. Every roommate I've ever had has been out of necessity. And you just gotta get used to it. But it's crazy because people, the way that people are roommates is usually a clue into how they lived before, like how they were raised, potentially. Maybe they were raised to act differently than they're acting as roommates, and this is them out on their own for the first time, rebelling against all these rules they had at home when they were, younger. That's the most charitable way to put it. Like, I think mostly a lot of people are insane. And there's nothing like having like a messy or lunatic roommate, and then maybe you do become friends though. Maybe you're friends, maybe you're friendly. And then you go visit them at their house and you see that it's pretty much the same. This person is wild through and through. I had a roommate that, there would be some nights where he would sleep in the bathtub. He had a bed, he had a mattress, he had pillows. But he said he would sleep in the bathtub because it felt more normal to him when he would wake up from a night terror. And I was like, I don't know how you find that out. That means this man had night terrors and tried every room before he went tub. And that was a tough roommate to have because, I would go to bed at a regular time, even a little late because, we're young and everything. We're in college, and then I would just know I can't go to the bathroom for the rest of the night. No, I can't. I'm gonna have to hold it until he wakes up. And what would normally be distressing, sleeping peacefully, and then hearing from the bathroom, is only made a relief, because then I know, okay, he's up, I can go. A lot of people in America worry about terrorism. This is a top concern for some people, and it just depends, mostly, to me at least, on when you were born, And I think that within this understanding of terrorism, there are many different definitions, One definition is someone who stokes fear and anxiety for the purpose of fear and anxiety in their enemies. And there's a lot of talk of terrorism or potential terrorism. People get called terrorists all the time, and there are some people that want to equate terrorism to one specific group, one specific religion. But I know that there are terrorists, but the terrorists that I'm talking about, they have no religion. The terrorists that I'm talking about, the terrorists that I believe already live in the U.S., they don't have some God that they call to for their purpose of doing what they do. They just do it to stoke fear and anxiety. I'm talking about people who put an empty box of cereal back on the shelf. These people have no place in our society, all right? I had a roommate. Last straw for me was this man. I had bought some Cheerios, and I bought it for the group. We all eating out here. And so then I go to grab the Cheerios, and I'm excited, I'm hungry. And I go to grab the Cheerios, and there's a certain feeling. Anyone who's been a victim of what I'm talking about will know the feeling. It is a weightlessness of despair. You go to grab what you think might even be a half-full box of cereal, and in your attempt to grab it, you put too much energy, too much force into your shoulder, into your arm, into your hand. And when you put that force into your shoulder and your arm and your hand, and you grab the box of cereal and you go to lift it up, you hit the top of the cabinet. Because there's nothing in there. And not only is there nothing in there, what's been left is crumbs. And the sound of crumbs is the jingle bells of poverty, all right? I've never felt poorer than when I hear crumbs. Hearing crumbs is right out of Oliver Twist. Crumbs is what Charles Dickens wrote all his best work to. I didn't even think I could hear crumbs. Oh, but they have a sound. It's a mix between bread particles bouncing off each other and then a whisper. It's in a moment. It's something that almost can't be identified. And it's the whisper of those crumbs, the same way that you could split atoms or you could collide particles and make an entire boom, a bang, a nuclear bomb, and a hydrogen bomb. The banging together of these bread particles makes one singular noise, and it is the universe telling you from a point of almost quantum physics, bouncing the particles off each other, that you're poor. That's the sound of poor. Wouldn't you love to say yum? You'll never say it. You're too poor. These are crumbs. If you've ever, in your life, out of necessity, not out of deliciousness, had to pour crumbs into your mouth, only in the Bible do I imagine this level of thirst for food. You might as well be in the desert. Even if you are in your Pittsburgh apartment, you might as well be in the desert if you are opening your mouth, letting it hang, while an entire bag while a bag of crumbs slides and floats to your mouth. Because the crumbs that are sliding into your mouth from this bag, they have no Christianity. These crumbs are there to embarrass you. They're there to make you look and feel poor while you pour them into your mouth. Maybe that's where we get the word poor from, and maybe that's where we get the other word poor from, because you have to pour these into your mouth while you feel like the poorest person that has ever lived. And the bag is stiff because it's that hard, semi-soft plastic that they only make cereal bags out of. And because of that, it's got a lot of ridges. It's got a lot of things that the crumbs can slide and get caught up on, you know? It's a lot like when you try to get water to a new place and the water is working its way through the canyon, but it doesn't know where to go yet. It's being pushed by the other water. And this gravity that's pulling down the crumbs to your mouth has the crumbs rushing at you from all angles. Even when you try to pinch the bag, You try to pinch the bag to give yourself some dignity. You try to pinch it and straighten it up to make a funnel for your mouth, because this is all you have. Crumbs is all you have. Crumbs is your life. And so you make it as straight as possible. You slide it down. Only when you are making a paper plane do you have this level of intent as you straighten something out. You straighten it out as much as possible, and then you dip it into your mouth, and still the ridges find a way. Because the devil is busy. Oh, the devil is hard at work trying to make you look and feel poor, even if you're alone in the room. You pour the crumbs, they're rushing from all angles, skiing down the plastic to your mouth. But then something happens. You don't know if it's in the middle of the bag or it's at the very edge, because some bags, depending on what cereal you get, have smooth tops and some have ridged tops, okay? That's going to be important, because if it's a smooth top, the crumbs will slide out. If there's ridges right at the top, that means that the crumbs have one last giddy up before they get to your mouth. And so then not only do they giddy up, but you are looking for the food. You'd at least like to see what you're eating. And so you're looking down the bag, and the crumbs are like, we can go anywhere. We could go in your mouth, we could go up your nose, but we love to go in your eyes. And so then you're standing there with crumbs in your mouth and in your eyes and down your face and down your shirt, because as soon as they got in your eyes, they stung, because crumbs are sharp. You might as well juggle knives over your open eyes. You know what that feels like? To be You know what that feels like, to have to dig Cinnamon Toast Crunch out your eyes? Every cereal sharp. Every cereal is sharp. And so I remember I was a victim of terrorism. And I took my crumbs like a man. But then I confronted my roommate. I said, hey. I know what you did. You know what you did. I don't know why you did it. I feel like I've been very respectful. I feel like we have a good rapport. I don't know why you would engage in such a vicious attack against my Saturday. And he was like, what? I was like, you know what? Because he did know what. Because without me saying anything else, he was like, look. I put it back, but there was some in there. And I said, some crumbs? He's like, no. There was Cheerios in there. And then I thought, okay, maybe I've made a mistake. Maybe I have accused the wrong roommate, because I have more than one. And so then I walked to the kitchen with him, because the bag and the box were laying on the ground, because I obviously had to run to the bathroom and wash my eyes out of the very sharp cereal. And at this time, first of all, I need to go back. This is the second time this had happened, all right? And so first time was Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and then the next time it was Cheerios. That's my mistake. And so then he was like, there was some in there, and then we walk over, and the bag and the box are strewn on the floor like a crime scene. Because I had to drop them immediately. I also got Cheerio in my eye. And I was like, there was nothing.
and you know there was nothing because it was only crumbs, and now the crumbs are in me and on me. And then he's like, no, there was something left. I was like, what left? And he was like, there was one Cheerio. And I was like, now I know. You might as well be Osama bin Laden, because the fact that there was one Cheerio you chose to not eat and leave means you're out of your mind. And then I looked, and sure enough, there was one Cheerio on the ground. One Cheerio. A single Cheerio. Like a British person saying goodbye. Obviously, I didn't kill him. I'm here with you now, but I thought about it. I struggled a lot, growing up, even into like early adulthood, with opinion of myself, with like body image and everything. It's very difficult sometimes for any young person to believe, if they don't already believe, that they are lovable or that they are good in just the way that they are. Basically, that they are enough. You're still working on yourself. There's still things you want to do with your life. You got your whole life ahead of you, but there's nothing extra you have to do to be worth anything, And it's a hard thing to convince someone of who doesn't believe it. I wish more people believed it. If you saw yourself the way that the people that love you see you, what a beautiful world that would be, And it's not as if love isn't poured into and on these people, showered with praise when something goes right. Not everyone gets it, but even for the people that do, they still struggle with body image, they still struggle with confidence. And then for the people who should have people that they look up to, maybe not giving them any of that, either being indifferent to them or actively hurting their confidence. Sometimes even when you have those positive forces in your life, you still don't accept it in a way that would help boost your confidence. You're like, she loves me, but that's like my mom. She biased. And I know for me, I spent a ton of time trying to work on myself in different ways. Some things that I actually needed, some things that built me up, and some things that were maybe a little bit unnecessary, I really struggled to look at myself in any positive way until I got really fit. Like in my head, really, really fit. I should look like, I saw other guys and I thought I should look like that. I should look like a version of that, at least, And never mind that I'm looking at dudes who have been on their own journey or struggle with their own confidence, or maybe get a little extra help to look the way that they look. I don't know. And I was never trying to be like insanely huge. I joke about being like ripped and real big, but honestly, I don't have the frame for it. Truly, I'm not tall enough to be wide. Yeah, no matter how big my shoulders got, I'd start to just be in the way. Like, it looks good in the picture when you're flexing and you've got all the muscles and they're all defined and everything, but then practically in life, it does start to be a problem when you're trying to walk through a door. You don't want to be on a date and see a door and go, uh-oh. how do we handle this? You know, because the shoulders, the hips, they're all wide and muscular, but that door frame, oof, making all of them standard. I can't believe they doing this. And then you're holding hands, you get to the door, and you're like, you first. You look like you being a gentleman, you know. Please go ahead. And then she walks through the door with ease, and you now have to figure something out. You're standing on the opposite side of the door, and you're like, oh, okay.
As soon as you strained,
You let her know this isn't going to be the life for her. I never wanted to be huge. I just wanted to be very, very fit, you know? And I worked on it with some success, with less success. But even when I started to work out, I realized that wasn't really the issue. Now I was going to the gym, and I was eating as much as possible, and I was gaining a little bit of weight. Not much. And I was like fighting to keep looking this certain way. And I finally accepted that, like, even if I got there, maybe I wouldn't be happy. And I even discovered that through other people who I knew were there. People who I wanted to look like that were in my life, you know? And they still had all the same problems I did. And I would go to the gym and I'd see people packed in there fighting to look a certain way so they could feel a certain way. And there is a bit of a cheat code. You could try to work on feeling the way without having to fully change your entire body. You know? You don't have to earn loving yourself through like straining and potentially hurting yourself, you know? Like there's some things that there's some things that go and be lifted in therapy, you know? Like it's just and but I remember I would see these workouts, and sometimes you see people get creative. There are a couple machines that are pretty straightforward. You sit down, you want to row, you put your feet here, and you pull. And that's the exercise right here. This is just what you do, and you do it for your back. You know, you work a little biceps in there too, and maybe if you're trying to work more of the back, you can lean forward a little, lean back a little with the pull, you know. I saw a guy sit down like normal and then put his feet in. And I'm not gonna lie, I stopped. I was like, this is about to be awesome. And this man, I don't know what muscle it works out. It seems like it just ruins your joints, but he went, just make sure it's clear. And it looked like it felt like it sounded. This man did 8 sets of 10. And I watched the whole thing. Oh, there was even a time where I went to the gym and, you know, I was working out my legs differently. You know, I was doing some lunges, I was doing some like split squats and everything. Not much weight, but just trying to make sure that I worked out my legs, because there are some people that in all that self-consciousness and all of that wanting to build up for yourself, your body and your image, they still only work on the glamour muscles. They forget the base. They forget their core sometimes, and they definitely forget their legs. And we've been told since we were children that the legs are important. We've been told in many different ways. We've been told by PE teachers. We've been told by coaches. We've been told by parents. We've been told by cartoons. There's an entire cartoon dedicated to people who skip leg day. Johnny Bravo was trying to warn us for our entire childhood how important leg day is. That's not a structure you want. You don't want to have more hair than... So I was working out my legs, and so I'm packed into this gym with a bunch of other people, which is, look, it's very frustrating because this gym was unfortunately affordable. So a lot of people were in there, you know, and I was one of them. And I was hopeful, you know, sometimes they sell memberships all year and they're counting on people not to go. The way the gym structures are built out, it's so that you get all of these people here, but they're signed up, they don't actually show up. And so a gym is able to run fairly efficiently as long as like a tenth of the people who are members show up at a time. If everybody showed up that was a member of the gym, if everybody started to really decide to work on themselves, it would look a lot like TSA. There'd be very little movement. The only way to work out would be passing the weights, just you can have some. And while I was in the gym, packed in there with everybody else, there was a fire alarm that went off and some smoke that we saw. And, you know, I didn't see any fire, but 2 out of 3 signs isn't bad. And so there were only 2 exits, which in retrospect was a horrible thing. Like, there was, you could only get out through the elevator, which you're not going to take during a fire, or the stairs. And so people started clamoring for the stairs. And this is where the real fitness test began. Because there were some people that were out in a flash, but then there were other people who had been working out. So they used all their fire running strength on the treadmill. So now they see that the fire alarm is going off and there's smoke, and they hop off the treadmill and they're like, oh no. And then there were other people, what I would assume people who were a bit out of their mind, that even treated the running out of the gym like a workout. There was one lady literally still looking at her watch going, and then there was me, who had been doing leg day. I tried to make my way out as fast as I could, but honestly, if I could brag on myself for a second, I had gone pretty hard. You know, I had a PR and everything, and a PR is what you don't want to have when it's time to run. Because I put the weight down, I saw everybody running out, and I made my way for the exit, and I could not stop jiggling. Like every... And yeah, I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you have to evacuate for a fire, but nobody moves like there's a fire. Even as you're going downstairs to like get out of the building that has smoke in it that is like clearly, at least seemingly on fire, you still get people that do that thing that people do when they get to the top of the stairs, where now that they're clear, they just enjoy their day. If you've ever been in a walkway, there are people who can't wait. At the beginning of the stairs, they can't wait to get up there. And then as soon as they get up there, as soon as they are past the last step, they're like, oh, yes. As if there's not a ton of people behind them. And so I'm noticing as I'm shaking and jiggling down the steps, how slow people are going down the steps. And so people do start to scream like, hey, hurry, move it, you know, fire. And then we get outside, and it was next to the door. One of the reasons everybody was slowing up was that same lady was out front near the door, just like next to the door, just run. Like run, like you still got the rest of the world to run. What are you waiting for? If you're waiting for your gym buddy, you left him. You left him to die. It's funny because I was watching the news and I saw this, can't really call it a debate, it was more of a screaming match. But it was on CNN. And on CNN, okay. Found the one person that works at CNN, and that's... Man, I've never heard anybody clap for CNN like that. Yeah. Now, to be fair, though, look. To be fair, we don't know where our friend is from, and CNN abroad is actually substantially better. Like, when you watch CNN and you're in like France or something, it is actually like engaging programming. That we really are the only ones that do CNN the way we do CNN. As an example, when you travel the world, McDonald's is still fast food. We're the only ones that made it poison. You know, every other country, they just say what happened on the news. They just tell you. They're like, oh yeah, no, then these people came, and then the other people came, and then the first people left, and the second group of people left. It's really mostly in the US where you watch news and it's like chaos in the streets. Like every news segment is cutting a promo for a horror movie. I was watching CNN and I saw where Jillian Michaels was on there in a debate that she seemed to have started, and they were talking about changes to the Smithsonian and how art and culture shifts between who has the power to dictate how the exhibits are written, who the exhibits are of, and everything. And Jillian Michaels was like, it's so unfair that slavery in this country only gets blamed on one race. Look, as outrageous as that is genuinely funny. Like, look, I'm not gonna tell anybody how to feel, but if you heard the words I said, that Jillian said, and you immediately got angry, I would ask you to take a step back. I'm not gonna tell you how to feel. You can be angry if you want to be angry, because it is a very short-sighted, ignorant thing to say, but that's precisely why it's so funny. It is absolutely hilarious. But the best way I can describe why this is funny is when I was a kid, I would I would be at home alone for about 3 hours. I would get off, from school. I would do practice, and then I would get home and I'd be alone for about 3 hours, right? So for 3 hours, I was the only person in the house. And one day, I was just walking through the house. I was eating something. I think I was like eating some Easy Mac and walking, not paying attention where I was going. And I knocked over this vase. And it was a vase that my mom loved, right? And so it smashes on the ground. And I genuinely didn't know what to do, because I was like, man, I'm going to be in a huge amount of trouble. I need to think of something. And in my head, I was like, what should I do? Should I call my mom now and be like, hey, when you get home, you will want to beat me. But I feel like if I tell you now and you're going to be like on shift for another half hour, and then just the concern, because I never call you, I'm hoping the concern that you have that I am calling you you'll be so relieved that I'm alive, that I'm not dead, you'll want to kill me less. You know, because having that coworker be like, it's your son, you know what I mean? And then have you be like, oh, what, my baby? And then I tell you what I'm about to tell you, and then you're like, oh, I'm just so glad you're still with us that I would hate to make it so you were not, right? That was one thought. Then the other thought was, look, I've given this whole having a family thing a good run. Maybe I dip right now. Maybe I leave home right now. And then the third thing, which is what I did do, was nothing. I went to my room and played some video games for what felt like might be the last time in a long time. And then my mom got home. I remember all the noises of her getting home. I remember the like screen door, and then the lock, and then the lock turning, and then the deadbolt turning, and then her walking in, the screen door shutting behind her, her shutting the door, her locking the door, and the deadbolt. Again, every footstep from the front door to the kitchen, because she missed it at first. And then every footstep after the kitchen back into the living room, where I heard my name. And not my name the way you know it, my full legal name. You know what they put on your death certificate or before a parent kills you? My full legal name. And then I walk in, and my mom is like, what happened? What is this? And then I said, oh, you just gonna blame it on me? Wow. Maybe I was in there playing video games the entire time. Maybe somebody broke it and left. Maybe I'm lucky to be alive right now. You're just gonna immediately blame me because I was the only one here. You're just gonna blame me because it looks like it was me. And that's kind of what Jillian Michaels was doing with the whole, like... Yeah, that's kind of what she was doing. Can't believe you would just blame it on one race of people. And it's so funny, too, because when it comes to history like that, there are always these bad actors that try to pull the thinnest straw man out of the woodwork. You know? There'll always be that person. There was a guy, I don't actually remember his name, and this is before slavery in the U.S. was more based on race and before more people were shipped to the U.S. There was a dude that I've read about that apparently was of African descent, and he came over and he had about 2 or 3 slaves. And one of those slaves was seemingly of the Caucasian persuasion. And whether this thing is true or a myth, I've heard it my entire life when referencing slavery, that there was one black guy who had a white slave. And I'm like, look, even if that's true, that's not what it's known for. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You're just picking and choosing how you present an entire idea. And it makes sense to me that someone like Jillian Michaels would say something like this. She is from a reality TV show. She's known for the show The Biggest Loser. Yeah, that's who she is, that coach from The Biggest Loser. You know, the nice one. The Biggest Loser was a show, I don't think it's still on the air anymore, so if you're not familiar with the show, it was a show where they would bring on people who were overweight, struggling with image and everything, and they would help them lose weight by making them do slavery.
Mira,